we're back, I think. I plan to come back with an actual good project, but script writing is boring and monotonous, and I was too lazy to put my brain to actual good use, so we're left with this instead. I hate everything I've made. Laziness is a powerful feeling, the type to stop you dead in your tracks whilst making you feel guilty about it. For months I've been trying to work on videos that I'd actually be proud of, but the allure to do something much easier and significantly more enjoyable was more. Enter Football Manager 20. Not the new one because I'm cheap. Football Manager is a game for complete nerds who don't value their free time or their sanity. It's football minus the football part. Instead, focusing on the more fun parts of the game, like training schedule spreadsheets and stupidly complex set-piece routines. Riveting. Naturally, we've invested many hours into this. And in those hours invested, I've firmly established myself as manager of Italian underdogs Atalanta, after beginning my career in the back arse of Holland in Vitesse. And after 3 years spent building a strong enough squad to eventually win the Dutch title, I threw a strop and started throwing my CV around all over Europe like a newly graduated secondary school student just looking for a job. Eventually, after a series of lengthy interview processes in which multiple Italian clubs decided to waste my time, we eventually got the Atalanta job, which was bottom of the list. But we'd already burnt too many bridges, or in this case dams, in Holland to ever go back, so Forza Italia. Now this was around December when my Football Manager escapades began. Firmly in the pandemic, we knew the sauce. Christmas time was ripe with the familiar feeling of unfamiliarity, and in lieu of not being allowed to leave my house, instead we decided to scour the world, or more specifically, Argentina, for tricky young wingers. The world was still in the midst of ending, as it had continued to be for decades now at this point. But hey, the world was still in the midst of ending, as it had continued to be for decades, and I was still in one of the worst periods of my life. So we signed Giovanni. Giovanni Lima de Cunha is a Brazilian left wing-back signed from Flamengo for my plucky Atalantians. He's very good, and he's turned into one of the league's best players across his 5-year stay in Bergamo. The fans love him, the players love playing with him, and I love him. Thank you, Giovanni. Bought for £29 million, because I haven't figured out how to change my settings to euros, Giovanni was one of the first signings I made at Atalanta. I didn't know all too much about him, other than the fact that my scouts fancied him quite a bit, and that he was absolutely rapid. At the start of my first season, Giovanni was a shiny diamond in his sewer. My team was cluttered and a mess. There were remnants of other managers' failed histories left scattered across the starting 11. We had a recently purchased ageing Welsh left-back, a strike partnership of Colombian granddads like cobwebs in a corner, and an 18-year-old centre-back who became forced into the squad on account of how piss-poor the previous administration's recruitment team were. Christmas was uneventful. I didn't really feel like celebrating. I was acutely aware of how much I needed to be studying for future exams, but at this point, we had no idea what we were supposed to be studying for. So we just sat there, paper bridges in the ears, pen in the hand, stressed about a future we couldn't even visualise. My life was, and still is, confined to this desk in this small room. Classes, work, and a fledgling managerial career. Subject to a work permit, Giovanni went straight into the team, the young 20-year-old becoming an immediate starter in a place he'd barely become accustomed to. He did at least have a friend, in the form of winger Lucas Gabriel, another young 20-year-old Brazilian who managed to turn to the second coming of Lionel Messi, who joined roughly around the same time. The wingback arrived into a complete mess of a formation. Hot off a title win with the very customary 4-3-3 in Arnhem, I decided to completely reinvent myself for the second time this year and swap it to a 5-3-2, with 3 defenders and 2 powerful wingbacks to control the game. I hoped. The foundation was weak. My backline consisted of stowaways from different eras, with my swanky new left-back being the Ferrari to the used car dealership I inherited. Giovanni had to pull 4 times his weight in order to keep this goddamn black and blue Bergamo ship from sinking any further. I'm running out of spots to pierce. Identities shift with time, and I feel like I may have sped ran it a little. But hey, who would I be if not for a series of brash impulsive decisions etched onto a small body? As I sat in my room for a year, I had nothing but my own ideas of who I should be in my head. The absence of other people meant I could just exist as myself, without the fear of judgment from other people. Maybe I needed some judgment. Giovanni did alright in his first season. He helped the absolute mess of a team to a hard-fought 5th place in the league. My tactical masterclass of not playing my best player by using a formation with no wingers turned out to be the driving force behind the disappointing league finish. Wow. Self-sabotage. We stan. In the same season, I signed 18-year-old wonderkid Yormar Restrepo, a Colombian striker from Atlético Nacional, a team from, guess where? Colombia. In his first season in South America, he scored 13 goals and got 11 assists, which is pretty promising, so he should become a pretty crucial player for me. Or he would if I didn't have too many non-EU players registered, meaning he'd have to sit out on the sidelines for 6 months until a slot freed up. But he'll be worth the wait. Meanwhile, as I waited for Big Yorm to wait out the complex administrative process of simply living in a country, I signed Alexander Isak, a real player this time. Best known for breaking Spanish hearts, he was my go-to striker for the season, scoring a respectable 13 goals in a struggling side before I proceeded to never play him again and still turn a profit on him. It's called an investment. Fuck your cryptocurrencies. Put your money into lanky Scandinavian forwards. Hasn't done me wrong yet. So how's your day been? Writing is fun in small doses, but it's been hard to find those. I had about 3 projects all thought up before this one. Some of which would be stuff I would have been proud of, and others of which I got about 75% through editing before realising I hated it and deleting it off my hard drive. And that's not me being artsy pretentious, oh I must strive for perfection. That's me being annoying and not sticking to my goals. A lot of ideas aren't fleeting. They stick with you for a while, gnawing at that juicy little frontal cortex, begging for your attention. And you say no, not yet. I have a 2-hour video essay to watch, while also scouring South America for backup goalkeepers. You keep to yourself, you stupid little thought. So ignoring it becomes a challenge, and a guilty one at that, until it wears you down more and more and more. Second season we changed it up. I sold my 2 30-plus-year-old strikers who both also occupied non-EU slots at the club, and reverted to a 4-3-3, a cowardly retreat back to familiarity. We left Vitesse to challenge ourselves, and immediately retreated once those challenges were faced. A sign of weakness? No, we came second, and Lucas Gabriel scored 31 goals in all competitions. Fuck you, I took the beaten path and I beat it. Tried and tested, what works once can only work twice. Giovanni dominated position, we were unstoppable. The 4-3-3. Total football incarnate, Guardiola's chessboard, and it works. It's not a bad template to copy from. The system was in place for greatness, and I merely took the reins. What I didn't realise about graduating was how boring it would be. Left alone, the world growing up around me, I finished my exams, got vaccinated, and just ploughed on with my work. Summer lasted about a week before I watched everyone, friends included, join the rest of the 9 to 5. And it felt strange. Working online felt like I cheated the retail stage part of everyone's lives. And I felt less of an adult as I was never physically present in any of my work. We were back, alone in my room, again. So we had free time, but no one to share it with. And as you sit at the same desk every day, over and over, you stop bothering a bit. The eyeliner dried up, I stopped wearing earrings and just went back to trackies and hoodies. The same ones every day, to be exact. Phoebe Bridgers needs a longer discography. It was the 3rd season. Jormar Restrepo was officially a fully registered Atalanta player, and I couldn't be more excited to see what he could do in Italy. I gave him the number 19, and I planned for him to become an integral member of the squad, signalling the end of Isak's reign. As backup for Jorm, we signed Alexandru Lazar, a Romanian striker who hated living in France so much, left within a year for the exact same fee. He scored 1 goal in Monaco, but he was highly cheap and highly rated, so we took a punt on him. The 4-3-3 stayed. If it can win leagues twice, I don't see why it couldn't pull off a charming 3rd. The squad was now significantly younger, we were fresh-faced and eager to begin. I, on the other hand, was not. It's a funny feeling turning 19 in a pandemic. I began it as a plucky, bright 17-year-old, eager to make whatever videos I liked. Now, 2 years older, I look back with complete disdain for what I've made. Fortunately and unfortunately, one of those videos took off, and now I think I have around 700 subscribers. Which is a strange feeling, because on the one hand I'm grateful for it, but on the other hand, I wish it came from something better. Personally, I don't like the stuff I've made. I've never rewatched a single one of my videos, even immediately after posting it. I made quite a few at the beginning of lockdown, and a few of them stuck, but they're just not the things or the stuff involved that I have any engagement or pride in. I had a little nostalgia week where I revisited my old childhood, and now those are the videos with the most views. And it felt great at first, watching the subscribers roll in and the views tick up, until it just didn't. I felt I'd constrained myself to this type of content, in which I had no investment in. And I started just kind of going with it, and not really knowing what else to make, other than the kind of stuff that I had been doing. And then eventually the months passed in between uploads until I just stopped. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I didn't care for the stuff I was making. It was more just like more of the same. I had 3 projects on the go since about June, and each of them I tried to create some sort of meaning behind, because I felt as if the stuff I'd made was just vapid and shallow, and when I tried to inject something into them, it felt flat and didn't work because I just simply didn't put the effort in. I was too busy focused on just having something out there, making something, doing some editing. So I started trying to make bigger projects. I downloaded a script writing software. I was planning on learning how to pixel animate, and then, didn't stick to those goals. I tried another thing. I had a notebook that I bought. I filled it up, and then that never happened. And now we've decided to mess up my room for a bit to make this. If you couldn't tell, this is completely off script. The stuff I'd wrote on my laptop right here, it kind of just stopped a bit quickly, and I felt I needed to add something extra in, some sort of explanation as to why the sudden change up. So sorry to all you guys expecting a part 2. It won't be coming. But I am thankful that you're here, watching the older version of me talk a bit too personally for a bit too long. Yormar Restrepo flopped. In 26 games for the club, the Colombian only managed 6 goals before being loaned out to a number of places, never managing more than 6 ever again wherever he went. But Barcelona, of all teams, decided to cash in on the promise he once showed and spent a whopping £83 million on him. What he couldn't do for me clearly was a person of value to someone else. And Lazar became one of the world's best, getting above 30 goals for the past 2 seasons. The replacement backup making good on his promise and soaring above. I didn't need to pray for a Yormar resurgence, we just rolled the punches and moved on. And Giovanni stayed great. My little spark kept his brilliance through every season, happy to stick around and show his worth. Always never present and always there. No matter the change in formations, he never kicked up a fuss and just continued onwards, pushing through the commotion. It's been a shit year for everyone, but it's been one of maturity. I often found myself wondering what type of person I would have been had it not been for the pandemic. Less political, sure. More mentally healthy, well, that's a given, but probably less of a person. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have had to shift themselves forwards a lot quicker than what they would have liked to. We've all become more familiar with ourselves in ways that leave more questions than answers, but I wonder if we would have had those questions had it not been for all this in the first place. I'm playing catch up to a body that aged 2 years in 1, but really it's all any of us can do. We move forward. Slowly, but in the only way that's been possible for a long while. Yeah, it turns out the 4-3-3 can only get you so far. After adopting it in my title-winning season, I started coming perennially second, always losing to Inter Milan over and over and over again, going 2 years without ever beating them. We needed an evolution. Enter the magnum opus, the Giovanni Supreme. Cleverly identifying my left winger as the weakest link in the team, I decided to do an even cleverer thing and just remove him. Genius. So we've got this very lopsided formation consisting of 2 ball-playing defenders, 1 right-back, a midfield trio, 1 right-winger, a little and a large strike pairing, and of course, our main man Giovanni, entirely isolated out on the left. But it works. Giovanni, the man who delivered and stayed loyal for many years, finally got his moment to shine. A player so good he can play every position on one side of the pitch, and well too. In that season, Giovanni got 13 assists in the league, and we won the title, managing to beat Inter Milan for the final, most important time. We did it. Winning on our own accord, our Atalantean individuality reigning supreme over all the other Italians. Going with the grain can only bring us to a certain point before I had to take back control again. I used my head, did something dumb, and had some fun with it too. And I did it all with my eyeliner back on.